In Tekla PowerFab 2023i, change management plus model comparison have taken the revisions process to a different level. The understanding that these will provide to our actual and future clients, it is simply unprecedented. So let's dive in. First, let's start by doing the normal input process. For this particular example, I already have a job created where I did some of the purchasing and piece tracking, just so we see how that's reflected on the change management screen as an example. So let me go ahead and import the file number 2. I'll go ahead and select the job. This will be my release number 2, and I'll go through the normal mapping process. Now, as you can see, this job is already linked to a Trimble Connect project, so there is no need for me to do that because this, again, is a subsequent import. That's usually done at the first time that you import a file. So let me go through the normal add and replace and select the usual mapping for the user design fields that you handle for drawings and part user defined fields. So now, as you can see here on the log, some of the changes were already starting to be reflected, and then the change summary screen comes into the action. Now, as I have mentioned before in the presentation, someone that is familiar with the project from this screen should pretty much read what's going on, right? I can see for just by looking at this, I can see that the C5 I won't be able to accept that change. That's why by default it's saved for later and put on hold, and that's because it's taken from the stock, right? So that's what the red indicator tells me. That main shape, we can take a look here on what it is. It is wide flange 14 by 145. It was already cut and it's getting shorter. So I can still take the decision later if I can reuse that material or not, right? But everything else, I can see the different statuses, like most of the material has been purchased. Only a few items have some tracking information. I can go and see, for example, this that it's changing from 21 by 44 to 27 by 84. That's a serious change, so most for sure I won't be able to reuse that material, so I will need to buy new material, for example. Now, again, this is very helpful, and it's what we come up with in Tekla PowerFab 2023. But in 2023i, this is even more helpful because you can see location of these items. You can see how those items are affecting other areas in your project. So hopefully you have noticed at this point, there is here on the upper right where my mouse is indicating, there's a select in assembly model option, and you can use, the typical right click and then options that the Trimble Connect default options that we use in most of the modules. So if I go and do select in model, for example, in this beam, you can see that it's going to launch Trimble Connect here in just a moment, and then automatically runs a comparison that will show you how the model changed from the last import that you did. So I'll let it load here real quick. There we go. And then takes me exactly to that beam, right? It's a B81 that it's changing from B50. It was a B50 before. I can see here. Let me actually put this side by side so we can have a better view. There we go. Let me make more room. And there is the B81, right? So you can clearly see here what's happening. Now, uh, in case you haven't used the model comparison before, let me explain this real quick. The red contours are actually what the piece was before, and then the gray area is what it's actually in the latest import, right? So you can see here that it was a 21, I think, beam, and it grew to a 27. You can see how that affected also obviously the size of the plate, and it also moved that stiffener on the column, right? So that's why that's most for sure one of the columns being affected. I can select that and select from the model, and you can see that that column, it was a C13 and changed to a C37. So it's really a very, very good graphical way to see your changes reflect. And then the stuff that you see on green is new assemblies that are being added in this import. So you can see the assemblies affected, the new assemblies that are being added. And then when you see something like this that is completely red, that just means that that assembly is not even in the model anymore. So it was deleted or possibly deleted. So that's why we highlighted here, so you can analyze that with your detail and take the decision if you need to take that out of the project. So just another example. If I go again to this B50, that is the beam that it was changing, that I was showing you as B81. If I do the selection in the model, you can see that it actually takes you to the other assembly that is being affected. So I just wanted to highlight that even if you select one or the other, it will always select the assemblies that are involved on that process. Now, one more thing that I want to mention here is this is not just at the assembly level, right? It can actually highlight at the part level. So for example, if I go to one of these columns, like the C3, I can see that the P72, there was none existing before and now it's one. I can actually select that in the model and it will take me to where that plate is located. So you can even utilize the bottom right side panel to utilize the part at the part level and go and see the changes that are being affected. Like if I go to one of those, let's see, a change in some of the dimensions, maybe in one of these columns, if I let me find something more like this one. For example, this is a plate that it was already existing and it's changing a little bit on the dimensions. I can go and select that in the model and it will just take you exactly to where that it's being located. So again, it's unprecedented. I truly believe that this will help you entirely understand the changes and the things that are happening in your revisions. So it's a really helpful thing that Tekla PowerFab 2023 I have for you. Now, the other thing that I want to highlight is that these changes are also available for you to be seen on the model comparison from the pending revisions screen. So let me explain that real quick. If I expand again this screen, and let me just go and put a couple of these changes also as save for later, just so I don't have just one. And continue with the import. I will skip the part of the report because we've seen that in the latest version. So I'll just go and show you from the rev queue here in just a moment. Okay. So let me go ahead and open that production control job. It's right here. And as you notice, I have the review pending changes option on the screen because I have a few changes without accepting. So again, if some of those changes would save for later, and then your production manager or whoever is in charge of checking those things, your purchasing manager, whoever needs to get involved, go and check those changes. There are the 3 changes that I didn't accept. Still at this point, they can also do the select and assembling the model option, and still, you will see here that Trimble Connect will launch again. You can even interact with the 2 models in Trimble Connect, right? The one with the model comparison and the actual latest Trimble Connect model here on the same job. But you can see here that it goes and highlight that piece for me again. It shows me where it is. I can see that it's still on the let me hide this one for a moment again. I can see where that piece was highlighted as a change. I can go to the C5 now. Let me pull Trimble Connect again into the screen, and it takes you to that column now. So they can still analyze those changes, take decisions. They can always go back to the latest model comparison and see what's been happening. So again, this is unprecedented. It's going to be very helpful for steel fabrication companies. Everyone will be able to understand in a clear way the changes. So don't wait too long. Go and download 2023i because I think this is a fantastic tool for you.